Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramanasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravaha Swasti nः Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Bruhaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Chinmaya Satgurave Namaha. 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 We had seen the second khanda of second Mundaka, or the first khanda of second Mundaka that we had completed. The Upanishad flows in a very beautiful way. First Mundaka, first khanda was Shaunak Maharshi approaching his teacher. What are the qualifications he has? Mahashalaha, one who has lived a good life, dharmic life. With lot of reverence he comes and asks his question, what is that knowing by which everything becomes known? Angiras Rishi, who is the teacher here, he gives a very precise answer. There is one knowledge which is relative knowledge, aparavidya, another knowledge which is paravidya. Not too much of elaboration is there on the nature of paravidya. What is higher knowledge? Only one mantra describes about it, yattadadreshyam, that mantra. Then the second khanda of first Mundaka, second part of first Mundaka, talks about nature of aparavidya. What is karma? What all things karma can bring? what are the limitations of karma, and how upasana with karma is better than only karma. That is the central theme of the second khanda of first Mundaka. Towards the end of that khanda, the mantra comes, Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmana. A wise person is the one who has examined the impermanence of results coming through karma. Very diligent person, worked very hard, but he understands there is a greater source of bliss than the joy that one gets through karma. Then again the mantra of Guru Upasatti comes. Tadvijnanartham Sagurum Eva Abhigachet. So what all things Shaunaka Maharshi did before coming to Angiras Rishi, that is as though rehashed in the second khanda of first Mundaka. Then we start with second Mundaka. And the first khanda of second Mundaka talks about Paravidya. Because until now, only Aparavidya discussion was going on. The example is given of the conflagration of fire and the sparks. The essential nature of spark is essential nature of fire. Then the indicator of Akshara is very precisely given for meditation. Divyo hyamurtah purushah sabahyabhyantaro hyajah aprano hyamana shubrah yaksharat paratav parah. That is the indicator of Akshara, which Shaunak Maharshi had asked. What is that knowing by which everything becomes known? The point to note here is, merely by saying the word Akshara, nothing much happens. It is not a japa mantra. It is not something we have to keep repeating in that sense. I am Akshara, I am Akshara, I am Akshara. In Advaita Vedanta, when we say it is path of knowledge, what is demanded is the clarity about the term that we are using. So when we say Akshara, where should our mind lead us to? First of all, it should not lead us to another object in this creation. No inert object, because it is Divyaha. No form should come, Amurtaha. So every indicator will give precision on what is the nature of Akshara. That is when even our Viveka will become more stronger. This point we had seen in Viveka Chudamani class also. Unless I know what that word means, I won't be able to discern effectively. If I just use alternative words, if I say Akshara means Brahma, Brahma means Atma, Atma means Paramatma, they are all words. So every Shabda should lead me to Shabdartha. What is another alternative for Shabda in Sanskrit? Pada. Pada means words. Words put together makes a sentence. Vakya. So from Pada, I should be able to go to Padartha. Padartha means what is that word indicating? Brahman is all words. There is no word which is devoid of Brahman, because it is substratum of everything. But there is one word which will shift attention to that. That is why this Divyo Hyamurta Purushaha is very important. Without making it an object, nature of truth is revealed to us. Then the later part of second Mundaka, first Khanda, 2.1, was talking about how this entire universe is an appearance, in that same akshara. Step number 1 is universe has emerged from akshara. Step number 2, because akshara is unchanging, the emergence is only an appearance. Any emergence from an unchanging cause is an appearance. And that akshara is me. That is the third step. So Jagat, where is it appearing? Jagat is appearing in consciousness. And I am that consciousness. To meditate in this way, later part of the Upanishad, in second Mundaka, first Khanda, those mantras were there. The last mantra we had seen was Purusha Evedam Vishwam. This world is nothing but Purusha alone. It doesn't have an independent reality than consciousness. Karma tapaha brahma paramrutam. This world is nothing but product of karma and upasana. Etad yo veda nihitam guhayam. One who knows this akshara as one's own self. Not the mind, not the body, not the intellect, and nothing outside. No identification with ownership of something outside. What happens to him? Saha avidya granthim vikirati iha somya. He is successful in destroying the knot of ignorance. It's a very beautiful metaphor. Huh? Avidya granthi, knot. Means what is it that is stopping us from abiding in bliss? It is avidya. Forgetfulness of my blissful self makes me identify erroneously with miserable conditionings. On top of that, we have our karma account. On top of that, we have ragadvesha. So those are different levels of samsara. And if we have to, let's say there is one knot, we have tied another knot on it, third knot, fourth knot. Which knot should we open first? Top one or the bottom one? Top one, not bottom one. You cannot even access it. First knot will be the ragadvesha knot. That will be opened by karma yoga. Vedanta will not open that knot for us. Then will be the subtler knots, which come in terms of yama niyamas. Truthfulness, holding on to values. If I am doing contrary to it, I myself am tying a knot. That also will be taken care of by spiritual life. Final knot is the knot between the self and not self. Atma and Anatma. To the extent I start opening the knots, to that extent I feel cheerful and free. Through vichara, through devotion, through karma yoga, if we are able to overcome ragadvesha, to that extent we are moving closer towards bliss. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, if we don't do this, if we don't cultivate love for God, don't work upon our limitations, and feel that somehow we will attain liberation, it is like rowing a boat vigorously while it is attached to the peg. So there is a rope attached to the boat, rope is attached to the peg, and then this person is, whole night he was rowing. And the irony is, the water goes up and down. So we feel we are going somewhere. So whole night he felt nicely he is crossing the river and he was there only. Modern example is, we had telephones earlier with that wire. Imagine if somebody cuts that wire and you are dialing and dialing and dialing. You see, that is the condition of that sadhaka. No matter how much you dial, no sound is going to come. Like that, if I am not opening the top knots of raga, dvesha and other things, avidya granthi to open is a far-fetched goal. So whenever we discuss Advaita Vedanta topics, we should always map the coordinates on where I am right now. Then only the goal becomes meaningful. Goal might be wonderful, but if I don't know how to reach there, or I don't know my current coordinate, then that goal description is not fulfilling its purpose. Now this Avidya Granthi, there is another very beautiful mantra in Ch2S2, where it says, same Granthi word only is used there. The mantra says, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhi. If I want to open the knot of avidya, first I have to start with ahara. Ahara here doesn't mean only food. Ahara means whatever things I am feeding my sense organs. I should be very, very careful what is going in this mind, because that mind is the only instrument I have for opening this knot. Knowledge also has to take place in this mind. Sattva Shuddhau Dhruva Smritihi. Once the mind becomes pure, whatever knowledge we have gained starts working. Whenever we are in the midst of transaction, this knowledge comes to our rescue. Smriti means recollection. Otherwise, sadhaka always feels, I know what I am supposed to do, but when I need it, I do whatever my mind tells me to do. Doing what I like versus doing what is right. That battle will also be solved through this ahara shuddhi. Then the last step is smruti lambhe sarva granthinam vipramoksha. And this regular recollection of what we have learned. When that happens, all the knots of the heart are cut asunder. So if I want to open the knot, is my alertness in transaction important or not? It is important, because that is the first step. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhi. Sattva shuddhi there means purity of mind. Then, when sattva shuddhi happens, dhruva smriti. Whatever mantras I have reflected upon, whatever concepts I have understood, they will become alive. It is not information, that knowledge will be benefiting me. Then last step is this, avidya granthi is opened. Now with this, the first khanda of second Mundaka, 2.1 is complete. And Shankaracharya said, the main essence of Mundakopanishad is complete by now. Because aparavidya has been described, paravidya has been described, and the elaboration of paravidya is also done. Now let's say, if a sadhaka feels, I have heard the truth, I have understood the truth, but still my way of thinking is not fully aligned with it. How can I strengthen my understanding that I am Brahman and this world is an appearance in me? How to strengthen this understanding? To answer this sadhaka, to help this sadhaka, this particular khanda and the later khandas also, they talk about meditation. That is their main topic. How to make this Brahma Jnanam into Brahma Anubhuti. But Anubhuti word we have discussed before. Huh? After hearing the statement of Upanishads, how can we lead our mind to think in that way alone? That is the Anubhuti part. That no erroneous notion should be there of nature of world and our own true nature. Both these things. So there are 11 mantras. In some places you will find 12 because one mantra is counted as 2. But we will take it as 11 mantras. So technique of meditation is elaborated. The way or technique of meditation is to repeat the meaning of Mahavakya. Not only repeat Mahavakya, repeat the meaning communicated by Mahavakya. That is how this khanda will open up. There are some popular mantras in this khanda. One of them is Natatra Suryo Bhati, Nachandra Tarakam. That also comes in this mantra. The famous metaphor of archery is used in this mantra. So these are some important mantras. Let us chant the first one, 2.1. Avihi sannihitam guhacharam nama. Avissannihitam guhacharam nama. Avihi sannihitam guhacharam nama. Nama Mahatpadam Atra etat samarpitam. Mahatpadam Atra etat samarpitam. Ejat pranat nimishaccha. Ejat pranat nimishaccha. Yadetat janatha sadasadvarenyam. Yadetat janatha sadasadvarenyam. Param vijnanat yadvarishtham prajanam. Param vijnanat yadvarishtham prajanam. Together. Avissannihitam guhacharam nama. Mahatpadamatra metat samarpitam. Ejat pranat nimishaccha. Yadetat janatha sadasadvarenyam. Param vijnanat yadvarishtham prajanam. The mantras are like tongue twisters. Even the next one is like that. Avihi. Now remember, what is the main topic here? How can I strengthen my knowledge? Same elaboration of akshara, but in a way that we can use it for meditation. Avihi means consciousness. Commentator he writes, Avihi is a nipata shabda. Means don't look for whether it is akaranta shabda or ikaranta shabda or takaranta shabda. He says Avi is just a word which means consciousness. Nipata. Avihi sannihitam. Sannihitam Shankaracharya very beautifully translates it. He says, means it is this consciousness alone which shines through illumination of speech, sound, and thinking. Sannihitam in simple words means well placed. But where is it placed? It is very well placed within. Means it is aparoksha, it is not different from me. And how will I recognize it? Whenever there is speech, whenever there is hearing happening, it is this consciousness alone which is illumining all these functions. Means it becomes known to me through these functions. Unless I know this connection, I will always keep searching for consciousness. How will I come to know it? Where do I find it? Nihitam word says, look at every function of this body. It is that consciousness alone which is functioning through these things. Means Brahman alone is appearing as Jiva. If you want the rope snake example, you can say, rope alone is appearing as snake. So if I pay attention to that snake, I can pay attention to rope. Because it is that rope alone which is appearing as snake. So if I pay attention to my speech, who is enlivening this speech, so I can meditate upon Akshara. Here the attention is not on what I am speaking. I should speak the truth. I should not speak untruth. I should not speak harshly. That is not the meditation. That is part of sadhana. Here the meditation is what is enlivening speech. And this entire assemblage, that is Akshara. That is why the word Nihitam has come. Next one is Guhacharam Nama. Guha refers to, Guha literally means cave. Guha means cave. But whenever the word Guha is used, what it means is intellect. Cave of the heart. They are not referring to physical heart. So Guha here refers to Buddhi. Guhacharam, one who moves about in the intellect. Now what is consciousness? Is it moving or unmoving? Unmoving. That's why we call it as Kutastha. And what is the word used here? Guhacharam. It moves about in the intellect. How does that unmoving consciousness move about in the intellect? Through reflected consciousness. It moves about in the intellect through Chidabhasa. So sun is unmoving. The water is moving. Sun reflected in the water appears to be moving. In that way, consciousness reflected in intellect appears to be moving. But what is the point here? If you are able to pay attention to intellect, then we can shift attention to consciousness. Thoughts are sentient. Means they are not inert. There is an inert component also, and there is a sentient component also. So if I am able to pay attention to that sentiency, that will lead me to the original. Mind is inert. We are not saying mind is consciousness. But how do I shift attention to consciousness? by looking at thoughts. Guhacharam nama Mahat Padam. Mahat Padam means, Mahat here refers to the substratum, even of Maya. Mahat means great. Why is it called as great? It is called great because it is a substratum even of this Maya, which is responsible for diversity of this entire universe. That is why it is called as Mahat Padam. Maya Aspadam. Aspadam means support. For the word Padam, Shankaracharya gives the meaning, that towards which everybody is going. Padyate sarvena iti. Padam also means to go. Padyate anena iti. By which you go is called as Padam. Padam also means the destination. So that towards which all of us are going. Meaning every pursuit in life is for happiness alone. But sometimes we erroneously attribute that happiness to an action, to an object, to a person. But our final quest is, knowingly or unknowingly, for Sukham. That's why that Mahat Padam is translated as Padyate Sarvena iti. Atra etat samarpitam. Why do you call this pada as great, Mahat? Because the whole universe is rooted in this consciousness. They might look different. Bird is different from a rock. Rock is different from a tree. Tree is different from a person. But the bottom line is, all these things are rooted in that same Chaitanya Tattva. Mahat Padam Atra Etat Samarpitam. All are rooted here. So Atra Etat Samarpitam is the reason for Mahat. Why do you call it as Mahat? Because it is the substratum, or everything is rooted over here. Now next is very unique Upanishadic style of indication. Life in general, what is the signature of life? Action. Wherever there is action, that symbolizes life. So 3 actions are pointed out to indicate living beings. This is Upanishadi mantra. They could have said Jada Chetana, but they don't say like that. To explain the word Chetana, 3 actions are pointed out. Ejat, Pranat, Nimishat. Ejat means to walk, while walking. Pranat means to breathe. And Nimishat means to blink. To walk, to breathe, and to blink. So Ejat, to walk, refers to birds and those animals. Pranat refers to human beings. Ejat refers to birds and other animals. Pranat refers to human beings. And Nimishat, all those beings which can blink. There is no particular being referred there. And the word Cha, which is there, Ejat, Pranat, Nimishat, Cha. That Cha refers to Jada, inert. Yad etat janatha. O Shaunaka Maharshi, know this Akshara to be the support of all beings which are inert and sentient beings. Tad yad etat janatha. Know it to be this. So how will this statement be? Ejat Pranat Nimishatcha. All those beings which are able to walk, which are able to breathe, which are blinking, and this inert universe, the substratum of that is you. Now just on this, Angiras Rishi says, keep reflecting, keep reflecting. The world that you are seeing outside is an appearance in you. To make it poetic, sometimes they say it is an extension of you. Appearance word, if it doesn't resonate that much, extension creates a different impact. Divine Mother, Sharda Devi, she says in one of her last letters, my child, nobody is a stranger. Nobody is a stranger. If you interpret that statement from an Upanishadic standpoint, Purusha eva idam Vishwam. That whom you worship as the Lord, that whom you worship as your own self, this all is an appearance in that self. That self alone is appearing as all. To the extent I can come closer to it, to that extent is the joy and bliss. Tadetat janata, one should know in this way. One commentator, he has put it differently. He says, you can also put it as a question. O Shaunaka, do you know where all this is rooted? He says it is rooted in you. Tadetat janatha. You have studied Vedanta. What is your final understanding? This is what it should be. Sadasat varenyam. This akshara is also sat asat. Said, I just now studied Viveka Chudamani. There they told me you have to do Viveka between Sat and Asat. And you have to choose Sat, stay away from Asat. Now what are you telling me here? Akshara is Sat and Asat. So here, Sat refers to gross creation. And Asat refers to subtle creation. That which appears as gross and subtle is called as Sat Asat. Why is subtle creation called Asat? Because unless we think about it, we think it is non-existent. Gross creation, to understand it is there, is very easy because sense organs reveal it. To say that there is something called as thought, there are devatas who are presiding over those thoughts. Why thoughts? Pranas. Are pranas gross or subtle? They are subtle. But unless somebody draws our attention to it, and we ourselves think about it, we feel it's non-existent. That is why Sukshma is called as Asat. Another term for this is Murta and Amurta. With form and formless. So Murta refers to, or Sat refers to gross, and Asat refers to subtle. Causal creation, you can include it in Asat. So subtle and causal, you can include it in Asat. But again, point to note here is, Sat and Asat doesn't refer to pure consciousness and unreal world. Here the meaning of the word Sat is gross creation, and meaning of the word Asat is subtle creation. So this Akshara is Sadasat. That alone appears as gross and subtle. Varenyam means in this entire creation, the only thing which is worthy of goal, that is Akshara. Only thing which is worthy of making it as goal of life, that is Akshara. That is why the word has come, Varenyam. In fact, Sadhaka is called Sadhaka because his goal is God. Sadhaka gets the title of a Sadhaka in the spiritual path because of his Varanam. Minus this Varanam, sadhana many people did. Hiranyakashipu also does sadhana. And sometimes if you read their sadhana, it is very humbling. The amount of tapasya they did, amount of austerity they did. But why isn't Hiranyakashipu called sadhaka? Because his goal is not God. Goal is something material only. On the other hand, you have somebody like Shabariji. Her external austerity might not be that elaborate. But she is an exalted bhakta, exalted sadhaka, because her goal is God. So this is a very beautiful pointer for our sadhana. Whatever we are doing, everything is meaningful as long as our goal is the truth. Then we can also have intermediate goals. Purity of mind is also a goal. Living life of values is a goal. Having good relations with others is a goal. But why are we doing all this? Why do we want good relations with others? So that we can put our mind in God without too much of disturbance. By itself, it is not a goal. If it becomes a goal, relations, that will turn into attachment slowly. So this word Varenyam is very important for sadhana. Sadhaka is called sadhaka because of his Varanam, not because he is doing some action. Action many people did, but not everybody had this goal. Next sentence, you have to read it as, what is the sentence? Param Vijnanat Yad Varishtam Prajanam. So from this statement, remove the word Varishtam and keep it separately. So how many words are you left with? Param Vijnanat Prajanam. Correct? The statement is Param Vijnanat Yad Varishtam Prajanam. So from that statement, just hide the word Varishtam for now. So 3 words you are left with. What are the 3 words? Param Vijnanat Prajanam. Now that you have to rearrange. Prajnanam Vijnanat Param. Read it ulta. Prajanam Vijnanat Param. So, Prajanam Vijnanat means what? Different than worldly knowledge. Prajanam Vijnanat means different from worldly knowledge. So, Param there refers to different. It is beyond worldly knowledge. Prajanam Vijnanat Param. It cannot be known through aparavidya, cannot be known through worldly knowledge. Therefore it is Varishtam. Varishtam means it is blemishless, nirdosha. Means a thing can be impure by itself or become impure because of association with something. Let's say you have some foul water and you have Ganga water. Now if there is one container, you mix both of them. So that Ganga water which was pure will become impure because of that other water which is there. So that is impurity coming because of contact. I'm trying to open up the word dosha. Dosha means impurity. So for impurity, there are two ways. One is through contact or one is inherent. So for that other muddy water, dirty water which is there, so by itself it is impure. And this water, Ganga Jal, you will not take that and sprinkle because it has gotten mixed with that other water. In Brahman, neither of these two impurities are possible. Neither can it come in contact with something, nor by itself it has any impurity. That is why it is called as nirdosha, blemishless. Why can't it come in contact with something else? Because they are two different degrees of reality. Satta bheda is there. Consciousness is one degree of reality, and conditionings are lower degree of reality. That's why we have to be very precise in the examples that we pick. Mirage water can never wet desert sand. Why? Because there are two different degrees of reality. So in Vedanta we say there is Paramarthika Satta, absolute reality, Pratibhasika Satta, illusory plane or plane of appearance, and Vyavaharika Satta, plane of transaction. So if I am seeing rope snake, that rope which is there is Vyavaharik Satta, transactional reality. The snake that I am seeing is Pratibhasik Satta, illusory. And consciousness which is illumining that thought is Paramarthik Satta. Three planes are there: Vyavaharik, Pratibhasik, Paramarthik. So when we say Brahman is Varishtham, means it is blemishless. So Paramarthika Satta will never get polluted by Pratibhasika and Vyavaharika. Just like Pratibhasika will not get polluted by Vyavaharika. So the rope which is there will not be affecting the snake which is there. Now don't take that rope snake example, Vedantic rope snake example. I'm just taking these three to explain three different planes. Don't get confused and say the rope represents Brahman, right? That's an example. You can take any other example also. If I see an object, let us say, I saw the cow. I saw a cow. Now in my dream, I saw that cow again. So the cow outside is Vyavaharik Satta. Wherever sense organs are involved to gain knowledge, that is Vyavaharik Satta. When that same object appears minus sense organs, only on the strength of mind, that is Pratibhasika. And then you have Paramarthika, which is the illuminator of Pratibhasika and Vyavaharika. So just like Pratibhasik Satta doesn't influence Vyavaharik, Vyavaharik doesn't influence Pratibhasik. So that cow outside and cow inside, they are not affected. In the same way, Paramarthik is not affected by the other two. Main point to note here is consciousness cannot get polluted because of vasanas. In Kathopanishad it is said, in the midst of all vasanas is this Chaitanya. Angushta matra. This Chaitanya is sitting inside, which is of the size of a thumb. Not literally, but poetically. But in the midst of vasanas, it is seated. Gahvareshtam Puranam. Gahvareshtam means that. And sadhaka always feels, I am pure, I am impure. So meditation is on the fact that I am of the nature of purity. As Chaitanya, it is Varishtam, means it is Nirdosham. Why is it Nirdosham? Because there is difference in Satta. Different planes of reality, consciousness, appearance, transaction. Mirage water doesn't wet, desert sand. None of the thoughts affect consciousness. Therefore it is Varishtam. Param Vijnanat Yad Varishtam Prajanam. All points in Bhashya we have seen, so let's just read it. Arupam Sate. This will be 2 lines above your mantra. You will find it. Arupam Sate. Arupam Sate. Aksharam. Kena prakarena. Vidneyam. Ityuchyate. Avihi. Prakasham. Sannihitam. Vagadi upadibhihi. Jwalati. Bhrajati iti. Shrutyantarat. Shabdadin. Upalabhamanavat. Avabhasate. Upalabhamanavat, right? Upalabhamanavat. Avabhasate. Darshana Shravana. Manana Vijnanadi. Upadidharmaihi. Avirbhutam. Satlakshate. Hrudi. Sarvapraninam. Sarvapraninam. Yadetat. Avirbrahma. Sannihitam. Samyak sthitam. Hrudi. Tat guhacharam nama. Guhayam. Charati iti. Darshana Shravanadi. Prakaraihi. Guhacharam iti prakyatam. Arupam sat aksharam kena prakarena vidneyam iti uchyate. Means this consciousness which doesn't have a form, it is arupam. In what way should I strengthen my understanding? Kena prakarena vidneyam. But vidneyam here refers to firm understanding. How should I know it? Previously, 2 khandas already spoke about it. Now again, students should not ask. Avihi, prakasham. Avihi means consciousness. Again, light when they use, they are not talking about physical light. So don't conceptualize some kind of a flame or some light coming. It is not bhuta prakasha, not bhautik prakasha, not worldly light. Prakasha, whenever it is used, it refers to consciousness. Sannihitam. So Shankaracharya clarifies this word. What is sannihitam? Sannihitam, actually, he gave a precise meaning later. Samyak sthitam. That which is well placed is called as sannihitam. But how do we recognize it? Vagadi upadibihi jvalati. Bhrajati iti. That which reveals itself through speech. Avihi jvalati means that consciousness which reveals itself through the conditioning of speech. Jvalati bhrajati, it shines. That is this akshara. Shrutyantarat, in other Upanishad Shrutis also, it is said this way: Shabdadin upalabhamanavat avabhasate. By illuminating sound and all different other sense objects, it makes itself known. Look at the beauty of this. Simple perception of this world can become a bondage, or it can become an anchor for reveling in Brahman. You know that Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham. The truth is covered by the golden orb. What was the meaning of that Hiranya there? Names and forms. So before we gain this knowledge, that name and form becomes our covering. But after gaining knowledge, one comes to understand it is that consciousness alone which is appearing as his name and form. Satya dharmaya drishtaye. That's why the next mantra says, of course that is upasana prakaranam. We should not pull it too much into jnana prakaranam. But the main point there is, name and form can either hide the truth or it can reveal the truth. So if my mind is attached to name and form, it will hide it. If mind is on consciousness and it understands names and forms are an expression of consciousness, then through that we can shift attention to consciousness. That is this upalabhamanavat, means by illumining, while illumining sound, etc., it makes itself known. Darshana, Shravana, Manana, seeing, hearing, thinking, Vijnanadi upadi dharmaihi avirbhutam sat lakshate. Seeing, hearing, thinking, knowing, all of these are dharmas of conditioning. But it is through these conditionings alone Brahman can be indicated. Lakshate means cognized or indicated. Hrudi sarva praninam. In the hearts of all beings, this Brahman is seated. It makes itself known through different functioning of this conditioning. You must have heard the famous story of Puju Gurudev asking Taponji Maharaj, if you want to reveal the nature of truth, why are so many other things included in that teaching? And Taponji asks him to go get water, and he brings it in a basket. He said, I want only water, not the basket. Gurudev says, got my answer. Just like basket is needed for water, conditioning is needed to reveal the truth. Through conditioning, truth will be indicated. Now in that water example, what is the role of the one who wants to drink that water? Drink the water and leave the conditioning. If I get stuck only with conditioning, I will not benefit from that water. But I need the conditioning to bring the water. So darshana, shravana, manana, if I get stuck with only the objects, then I can't shift attention to truth. But if I hold on to that perception and understand what is happening, that is this meditation, open-eyed meditation. Yad etat avihi Brahma sannihitam. Brahman, who is of the nature of consciousness, is very well placed. Guhacharam. Guhacharam nama guhayam charati iti. Means it is very well placed in the intellect. That is why it is called as Guhacharam. Meaning, although consciousness is all pervading, we can have distinct expression of Sat Chit Ananda in intellect. In the world, you can see only Sat, means outer world. But in Buddhi, we can see Sat, we can recognize Chit, and in a pure mind, Ananda also is recognized. So this consciousness as though moves about in this Buddhi. Darshana Shravanadi Prakarehi Guhacharam Prakhyatam. So for every cognition of seeing, hearing, thinking, Buddhi is needed. And consciousness is that which is pervading, enlivening the Buddhi. Therefore it is called as Guhacharam. Sometimes we should take these Brahma Lakshanas and just keep on elaborating. For our sadhana, not to speak somewhere. But if I take the word Varishtham, if I take the word Avihi, Sannihitam, Guhacharam, what all facets are included in that word? And how does it strengthen self-abidance? 15 minutes we should be able to speak on one word, at least. Guhacharam, go on elaborating. Whenever you all come here, I will ask you. 15 minutes time, no interruption. Just speak on that word. What have you understood from that? Because they are indicators of the truth. Literal meaning looks like only one word. Guhacharam means moves about in the intellect. Avihi means consciousness. But remember, words do nothing to us. Unless it points us to what it is, that word is not helpful. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Hari Om.